Well, g'day and welcome to the National Virtual Expo. I'm Rob Malicki on Garigal Land in Sydney. Welcome to this session on results in the real world, all about hands-on learning at uni with our friends from Southern Cross University. It's going to be a great session. If you've got questions as we go, make sure you drop them in the chat. If you're here live, you can ask them either via the session hub, where you may be watching right now, or if you're watching on social media, just drop them down in the comments below and we will make sure that every single question, no matter how specific about your case or specific about Southern Cross or broad about studying at uni in general, every single question will get an answer. And if you're watching this on the recording, then you can jump in the Discord, which you'll find down in the link below. And for parents, we have a Facebook community just for you. So any questions you've got, make sure you ask them and you will get a response. Without further ado, let's jump into this session on results in the real world.
Thanks, Rob, and welcome everyone to a Southern Cross University presentation. My name is Sam, and today I'm going to be talking you through hands-on learning and post-uni jobs and how the results actually apply in the real world for what we do here at university. So really excited to get started on this topic. Look, let's talk about why hands-on learning matters. Choosing what to study isn't just about picking a course. It's about what kind of options you'll have after graduation. For many people, university is one of the biggest decisions they will ever make. And fair enough, not because choosing a course is difficult in itself, but because it can feel like choosing a direction for your future. There are so many options, so many pathways, and often so much pressure to get it right. Many students aren't asking, can I do this? They're actually asking, will this actually lead somewhere? And that's a fair enough question, and it's a question I had myself. It's very common for students to feel overwhelmed at this stage. It's completely fine. Some are school leavers. Some are deciding what comes next for the first time. Some are changing careers, looking for something more meaningful or sustainable. Others are returning to study while balancing work, family, or other commitments. And almost all of them share a similar concern. They don't just want a degree, they want reassurance. Reassurance that the time, energy, and money they invest will lead to real opportunities. To learn more, let's hear from one of our previous students and alumnus of the year, Emily, who speaks on her experience at Southern Cross University and how it shaped her career. Because choosing what to study isn't just an academic decision, it's a personal one. Let's hear from Emily.
I'm blazing a new path for my generation and for my family, being the diplomat. I just really want to challenge myself and live a life that I can look back on and feel proud of. I grew up in Bundjalung country in Tweed Heads. As a Torres Strait Islander woman, really made me feel connected to my culture. I always wanted to live overseas. I wasn't sure how that goal was going to eventuate, but I knew I wanted to do it to push myself, show that being from a small coastal town in Australia, I can go and do big things. I was the first of my family to go to university. Southern Cross gave me all these amazing opportunities to study overseas. I studied international law at the Czech Republic for about 4 weeks. We went to the United Nations in Vienna. I remember kind of looking around at all the flags and being like, oh, this would be really cool to be a diplomat. So I went back to Southern Cross and we kind of came up with a game plan on how I could make myself competitive. Southern Cross was quite thrilled when I brought up applying for Australian government graduate programs because it was quite a new career path for a law student to go down. I met Joshua, my partner, on our first day of law school. Josh has been the rock throughout my whole DFAT career. 2023, I was nominated to represent Australia at the United Nations for the Permanent Forum of Indigenous Issues. Attending the United Nations was probably the biggest career goal I set myself. I thought I would probably do that in the next 3 decades, not the first 5 years of my career. I felt like, what am I doing here? Talking to other Indigenous elders and leaders, I started to really feel like, oh yes, I'm supposed to be here. I have a unique perspective as a Torres Strait Islander woman that I can offer. It was honestly such a special moment. I joined Australian Consulate General Namia in April 2024. I was immediately redeployed to Papeete in Tahiti to help with a consular crisis. Of course, New Caledonia had some really devastating civil unrest last May. It was really, really intense because not only was I expected to assist hundreds of Australians and foreign nationals to leave New Caledonia, but I also had just moved to the country. We spent the first 6 months of my posting in full 100% mode, just getting through the crisis. The past 5 years since graduating from Southern Cross, I've done so much with my life to be recognised for all my achievements. I'm really honoured. Honestly, I'm just really thankful to Southern Cross for giving me a different university experience. It really gives you a sense of how big the world is, but also how big of a part you can play in that world.
What a great video there from Emily, a great insight. Now, let's speak about the reality of work after graduation, because end of the day, we are going to graduate and we're going to go into work. Across Australia, employers are becoming clearer about what they're looking for in graduates. They're not just looking for people who know information. They're looking for people who can apply it. That means graduates who can think critically, solve real problems, work effectively with others, communicate clearly, which is a simple one but really important, and adapt in real workplace environments. One of the biggest challenges students face after graduating is sometimes what's called graduate shock. Something I had myself. The moment when study ends and professional work begins. Trust me, I've been there plenty of times. It's a weird feeling between finishing university and moving into full-time work. For students whose learning has been mostly theoretical, that transition can feel sudden and unsettling. They may know the concepts, but still feel unsure about applying them in the real world. That gap between learning and doing is exactly where confidence can be lost. That's why it's important to think about university differently. University isn't just preparation for assessment, it's preparation for professional life. The goal isn't just to graduate. The goal is to graduate feeling capable, to feel ready to step into a workplace environment and contribute. That's where hands-on learning comes in. Once again, we're throwing it back to hands-on learning. Hands-on learning means applying what you're studying to real situations through practical projects, simulations such as a nursing simulation labs that we have here on campus, industry placements, labs and specialist facilities, real-world case studies. Instead of learning everything from a textbook or sitting exams that don't reflect real jobs, students are learning in ways that mirror the workplace itself. I want to highlight that again. Students are learning in ways that mirror the workplace itself, and that's really important. I'd like you to think about this for a moment. When you imagine yourself finishing university, how do you want to feel? Not just qualified but confident? Not just knowledgeable but capable as well? Many students worry they'll complete their degree and still feel unsure about what comes next. Hands-on learning helps reduce that uncertainty. Students don't just graduate with a qualification, they graduate with experience, which is so important, with examples, with stories they can take into job interviews and professional conversations. So the real question isn't only what you want to study, it's how you want to learn. And that leads us to the next question, which is what hands-on learning looks like at university. And it's a great question. At university, hands-on learning means you're not spending all your time sitting in lectures or memorizing content for exams. And that's what I also thought when applying to university, but luckily this isn't the case. Instead, learning is built around doing. Now, I want to say that again. Learning is built around doing. That doesn't mean there isn't theory. Absolutely there is. But the difference is how that theory is used. Students are encouraged to apply what they're learning, not just remember it. In practical career-focused courses, hands-on learning often looks like a few things. For example, students might work on real industry or community-based projects that are designed around genuine challenges faced outside the university environment. They may complete practical assessments instead of traditional exams, where success is based on problem-solving, decision-making, and professional communication. Many students learn in specialist labs or simulated work environments designed to closely reflect the spaces they'll work in after graduation. Makes complete sense, right? Courses may include professional placements or internships, allowing students to experience workplace expectations while still being supported through their studies. And very importantly, students are often asked to solve real-world problems. Not hypothetical ones, real problems. Problems faced by businesses, health services, schools, communities, and other organisations. What all of these approaches have in common is that they help bridge the gap between theory and practice. Students don't just learn what something is. They learn why it matters, how it's used, and when it needs to be applied. So let's bring this theory to life. To give you a clear picture of how this works in practice, let's think about assessments. In a traditional model, students might learn about problem solving by reading about it or being tested on definitions. In a hands-on learning environment, the same concept might be assessed through a case study. Instead of answering questions in an exam, students analyse a real-world scenario. They consider multiple factors. They make decisions. They justify their choices. Similarly, instead of memorising processes, students apply them in realistic situations. They practice what they've learned in ways that mirror professional expectations. And instead of being assessed on only what they know, they're often assessed on how they apply that knowledge, how they think, communicate, and respond, which is so important. This makes learning feel far more relevant, more motivating, to be completely honest with you. Students can see the purpose behind what they're studying rather than wondering where it might fit later on. Let's bring in a student perspective. If you've ever asked yourself, when am I actually going to use this? You're not alone. Hands-on learning answers that question almost immediately. I, myself, had the same question. Students begin to recognise how their learning connects to real work while they're still studying here. Not months or years after studying, while they're still at the university. That connection helps build confidence. It also helps with motivation, like I mentioned earlier. When learning feels relevant, it feels worthwhile. Another important thing to understand is that hands-on learning isn't limited to one area. You may be thinking about doing health, business, whatever it may be. It applies for everything. It's not just for practical degrees, and it's not just for one kind of student. This approach is used across a wide range of disciplines, including health and allied health, where students practice in simulated clinical environments and work with real-world case scenarios. Education, for instance, where pre-service teachers gain classroom experience, lesson planning skills, and exposure to the real learning environments before graduating. Imagine becoming a teacher without actually having to be in a class before and talk in front of students. That can be daunting. Business and entrepreneurship, where students may work on live briefs, industry projects, or business simulations that reflect workplace realities. Engineering and IT, where students spend time in labs, designing systems, testing solutions, and solving technical problems. That makes sense for engineering and IT, doesn't it? Science and environmental studies, where students conduct experiments, fieldwork, and data analysis tied to real environmental or scientific challenges. I hope you guys listening out there, something like that can apply to you, hopefully. Regardless of this discipline, the goal is the same: to ensure students don't just leave university with knowledge, but with experience, competence, and confidence. In just a moment, we'll look at a specific discipline example to see what this looks like in practice. As you watch, notice how learning is structured to reflect what graduates will actually be expected to do in their future careers. Let's take a look at what this kind of learning can look like in action.
So we know Australia is facing a shortage of veterinarians. This critical skill gap is affecting the level of care that we can provide to our communities, to our animals and to our wildlife. Byron Bay Wildlife Hospital have established themselves as a critical part of this region and importantly as part of our national response to the challenges wildlife are being faced with every single day.
The wildlife are presented to general practice vets all around Australia every single day, and we just felt that they weren't getting a fair deal. What generally happens is boxes turn up, they get put out the back in a veterinary clinic. At the end of the day, the vets or the vet nurses will look at it and determine whether the animal makes it through the night or was put to sleep on the spot. So the euthanasia rate and the death rate was just too high.
We do everything from triage to treatment to surgery to rehabilitation. It is our aim to get the animals back out into the wild where they belong.
For us, as a teaching group, this is an authentic veterinary workplace where we will work with the veterinarians and veterinary staff who service this facility, work with them to train, teach our students. These authentic work environments are what we plan to introduce during every year, during every opportunity, but certainly in every year of our 2 veterinary courses.
Educating students is really important to me because I want a future with wildlife, and I want wildlife to have the same privilege, the same care and the same dedication that our domestic friends get.
So part of the partnership between Byron Bay Wildlife Hospital and Southern Cross University will include student placements in the Wildlife Hospital. So those students are going to be the only ones in Australia that will get hands-on experience in a wildlife hospital with wildlife. The demand for knowledge and experience with wildlife is huge, and we're going to work with Southern Cross University to meet that demand. It's estimated right now in Australia that we're probably 1,500 vets short. As far as wildlife goes, we're going to be popping out wildlife trained vets.
The regional veterinary practices in particular are finding it hard to recruit and retain veterinary staff. The labour shortage is more acute in the regions.
I would always highly recommend the degree and the university to anyone looking. It's been amazing and the people are amazing.
Alrighty, so after that video, you may be asking, does hands-on learning help with employment? And it's a fair question. One of the most common questions students ask is a very simple one. Will this actually help me get a job? And it's an important question because university is an investment. Like we said, it's an investment of time, energy, and often money. And students understandably want to know what that investment leads to. Short answer is yes, it does. But not just because the degree looks good on paper. Hands-on learning doesn't just give you a qualification, it gives you evidence. Okay, let's talk about what employers are really looking for. When employees are reviewing candidates, they're not just assessing knowledge, they're assessing readiness. They want to know a few things. They want to know, can this person apply what they've learned? Can they work with others, whether it's been in groups within a sporting team, at school you've worked in groups, maybe some clubs. Can they communicate professionally? Can they take responsibility? Now that's a big one. Can they adapt when things don't go to plan? Hands-on learning helps students develop and demonstrate all of these capabilities. Students can show evidence that they can apply their knowledge in real situations, work professionally with others, communicate clearly and confidently, manage responsibility and expectations, also respond when challenges arise. These are not abstract skills. They are exactly the skills employers look for in graduate roles. All right, so let's say by the time students finish a degree, that includes hands-on learning, many have built much more than academic knowledge. They may already have experience in real workplaces, professional networks and industry contacts, examples of projects they've worked on, a clearer understanding of their strengths and interests, a stronger sense of which career path suits them best. This is important because employment isn't just about getting a job, it's about finding the right role. Hands-on experience allows students to test different environments while they're still studying, and that insight is incredibly valuable. Okay, let's talk about how a job interview actually works. Okay, most employers don't begin interviews by asking about grades or academic transcripts. Instead, they'll ask questions like, tell me about a time you worked in a team. Once again, that could be a university group assignment, that could be a sporting team. It could be when you're at school, it could be an external event. Doesn't matter. They want to know about a time you've worked in a team. How about how did you handle a challenge or unexpected problem? How did you bounce back from that? How did you encounter that problem? And they might also ask, can you give an example of a real project you've worked on? And hopefully, while you've been at university, there's been quite a few projects you've been able to work on. These questions aren't designed to catch people out. They're designed to understand how someone behaves in real situations. Hands-on learning gives students these genuine answers. Instead of speaking hypothetically, students can reflect on a placement experience, an industry project, a practical assessment, or a real-world scenario they've already worked through. That makes interviews feel more like conversations and far less intimidating. There's something else students get along the way, okay? I want you to listen here, and it's often overlooked. They learn what they enjoy. Sounds like a bit of a weird, simple thing to say, right? But no, they learn what they enjoy, what they're good at, and what kind of environment suits them. Some students discover they thrive in fast-paced, collaborative settings. Others realize they prefer analytical or client-focused work. Now, you may think you have the answer now, just like I did when I was at school and starting university, but your answer very well may change, and you should be open to that. Learning this before graduation can save a great deal of uncertainty later on. To show you what this looks like in practice, let's hear from a graduate who's taken what they learned at university and turned it into a meaningful career. Let's have a look at Sophie now.
I'm really in a job now that I can say that I really enjoy. Hi, my name is Sophie. I studied a Bachelor of Business here at Southern Cross University, and now I work full-time in the events team here at the Gold Coast campus. I wanted a career path where I had a lot of variety, the chance to travel, and also just to meet new people and bring some really cool events to life. And that's what I do in my day-to-day here in the events team. So Southern Cross really helped me not just learn how to plan events, but throughout my internship and then also my full-time employment that I have been doing for 4 years now has just really helped me to gain a lot of practical experience, and I'm really in a job now that I can say that I really enjoy.
What Sophie's story really highlights is confidence. Not just confidence in her knowledge, but her confidence in her ability to apply what she learned in real situations. That confidence comes from having already practiced, already engaged, and already stepped into environments that reflect the workplace. But you know what? Sophie's experience isn't unique. We consistently see that students who engage in practical, hands-on learning often transition into work more smoothly, feel more self-assured in professional settings, and often move into employment more quickly with greater clarity. Hands-on learning doesn't just prepare students to graduate, it prepares them to begin. Now, this is where it takes me to the new topic, learning beyond the classroom. University life doesn't begin and end in the classroom, just like your future career won't. While lectures, tutorials, and assessments are important, some of the most valuable learning happens outside formal coursework. This is where students begin to grow, not just as learners, but as people. Learning beyond the classroom is about the experiences that shape how you show up in the world. At university, students often have opportunities to get involved in a wider range of activities beyond their core study. They might take part in industry or community-based projects, like we've mentioned, join clubs or student organisations, whether it's a run club by the water or a coffee club, whatever it may be. They can volunteer with local groups or non-for-profit organisations, attend workshops, events, and networking sessions, and take on roles that build leadership, teamwork, and communication skills. Now, we touched on that earlier for what employers look for. Just remember, those things I just highlighted is exactly what employers look for. They look for that experience. They want to see the leadership, teamwork, and communication skills. What makes these experiences valuable isn't just participation, it's what students learn by doing. I want to say that again. What makes this valuable isn't just participating, it's what they learn by doing. They'll learn how to collaborate with different people, how to manage time and responsibility, how to speak up, contribute, and sometimes take a step back, which is very important. These are kind of skills that don't come from textbooks. There's also skills that you can't memorize. Think about skills like confidence, adaptability, communication, resilience. These can't be memorized or learnt from a textbook. They're developed gradually through experience, through trying something new, through working with others, through navigating uncertainty. Sometimes that means things go well, sometimes it means they don't, and that's just as valuable. Learning beyond the classroom allows students to practice these skills in low-risk, supportive environments where making mistakes is part of the learning process. Now, let's talk about why employers care about this. From an employer's perspective, learning beyond the classroom matters a great deal because it tells a story. It shows initiative. It shows curiosity. It shows willingness to engage. When students talk about involvement in clubs, volunteering, or projects, they're not just listing activities. They're sharing experiences that demonstrate who they are and how they work with others. These experiences often become the stories students draw on interviews. Stories about teamwork, leadership, problem solving, and growth. Another important aspect of learning beyond the classroom is self-discovery. University is a time where students are figuring out not just what they want to do, but who they want to be. Getting involved outside formal study allows students to explore interests they might not have considered, test ideas in real situations, learn more about strengths and preferences. Often, these experiences help clarify career direction. Sometimes they confirm a path. Other times, they reveal a new one, and both outcomes are just as valuable. To see what this looks like in real life, let's hear from a current student about how learning beyond the classroom has shaped their university experience.
Hi, my name is B. I am studying business, majoring in marketing here at SCU. So my favorite thing about SCU is how it's the hands-on learning. It's how things you learn in the classroom is things you can actually use in real life. For an assignment, I had to create a marketing campaign, and I did that to my mom's business. So I could actually help my mom in her business with one of my assignments inside the classroom. And another thing that I learned inside of the classroom with one of my teachers was about the Innovation Hub. It's a club here inside of the uni. They have so many networking events and workshops where you meet so many important people. I did a pitch on my mom's business for investors. So that helped me build the confidence to actually present to a group of people, and public speaking skills and networking skills, and all of those opportunities I got it from my teachers and inside of the classroom.
What's powerful about B's experience is that it shows learning isn't always linear. There isn't one right path. Growth often comes from getting involved, from trying different things, from putting yourself in new situations. It may seem scary, but B's story highlights that confidence builds over time through participation, experience, and reflection. And that kind of growth doesn't stop at graduation. It carries forward into professional life. Now, I'm going to go into my next topic now, studying online. Hands-on learning isn't limited to on-campus study. It's fair to think that online study, you may not have that hands-on learning, but it's not the case. And this is an important point because many students studying online isn't a preference, it's a necessity. Studying online doesn't mean studying alone, and it certainly doesn't mean missing out on practical, career-focused learning. Well-designed online degrees are intentionally structured to be just as engaging, interactive, and relevant as on-campus study, just delivered differently. In quality online courses, students will still take part in interactive learning activities and discussions, real-world projects and case studies, industry-based assessments, placements, intensives, or residentials where practical learning is required. Instead of passive content, students are asked to engage, to think, respond, collaborate, and apply what they're learning. Online learning often includes discussion forums, group work, guided activities, and scenario-based tasks that mirror real workplace challenges. The delivery is flexible, but the expectations are real. For many students, the biggest advantage of online study is flexibility. Online learning allows students to balance their studies with work commitments, family or caring responsibilities, personal or geographic circumstances. This flexibility can enhance hands-on learning. Why? Because many online students are already in workplaces or communities where they can immediately connect learning to real situations. They're not just learning in isolation. They're often applying concepts alongside real-world experience as they study. That combination can be incredibly powerful. Now, firstly, it's important to be clear. Flexibility doesn't mean lower standards. Online students are still expected to meet the same learning outcomes and professional competencies as on-campus students. Where hands-on practice is essential, online courses include structured opportunities to gain that experience, whether through placements, on-campus intensives, residential schools, or supervised practical components. Okay, now we're going to transition a bit here. Whether studying online or on campus, the key is that learning is intentionally designed, practical, supportive, and career-focused. And that brings us to how all this comes together at Southern Cross University. Let's talk about the Southern Cross model here. I'm going to make myself a bit smaller so we can all see. Perfect. At Southern Cross, hands-on learning isn't just an add-on. It's central to the way courses are designed and delivered. We recognise that there's a better way to learn, one that supports students, builds confidence, and prepares graduates for real careers. That's why we developed the Southern Cross model. The Southern Cross model is an award-winning academic model that is unique in Australia. It's built around shorter 6-week study terms where students focus on 1 or 2 subjects at a time. Why is that? Well, this structure helps students maintain focus, build momentum, stay motivated, and balance study with other commitments. Who doesn't want that when studying? So I want to use a good example here. So instead of juggling multiple subjects over long semesters, students concentrate their energy, which often leads to deeper learning and stronger outcomes. The results, they speak for themselves. So let's talk about an example, for instance. Let's talk about your regular university term. It may be 4 subjects across 12 weeks. Let's go with that, right? Now, I want to change that 4 subjects to 4 tennis balls, and I want to change the 12 weeks to 12 minutes. If I asked you to juggle 4 tennis balls 12 minutes. That seems pretty difficult, right? Unless we're a professional juggler out there, it can seem difficult. Now, what if I said, let's change those 4 tennis balls to just 2 tennis balls, and instead of juggling for 12 minutes, I want you to juggle for 6 minutes. That's what it's like here at Southern Cross University. It seems a bit easier, right? Exactly. And that's what we're here for. We've condensed our workload and added in a few more breaks, so it's a lot more achievable. And at the end of the year, you study the same amount of load as other universities. Like I said, this isn't just my opinion. The results speak for themselves. Last year, 91% of students successfully completed their units of study. That's a strong indicator, not just of academic quality, but of support, structure, and student confidence. Another key feature of the Southern Cross model is assessment design. Rather than relying heavily on traditional exams, assessments focus on practical tasks, applied projects, real-world scenarios, industry-relevant challenges. This means students are assessed on how they think, how they problem solve, how they communicate, and how they apply what they learned. These are the skills that matter beyond university. We're starting to see a common trend here, right? Hands-on learning at Southern Cross University is supported by specialist facilities that mirror professional environments. Depending on the degree, students may learn in simulation nursing wards or midwifery labs, health clinics treating real clients. Now, let's say that again, health clinics treating real clients, engineering, science, and IT laboratories, exercise science, and allied health facilities. These environments allow students to practice skills, build familiarity, and develop confidence beyond entering the workforce. They don't just learn about professional spaces, they learn in them. Bit of a difference, right? The result of this approach is graduates who leave university are not just qualified, but prepared. They're prepared to step into professional roles, communicate with confidence, apply their knowledge, and continue learning and adapting. Hands-on learning changes the university experience, and it changes what comes after. It helps turn study into a pathway, not just a credential. To finish this topic, let's look at a few more examples of past and present students applying their degree in real-life scenarios.
So when you put on the goggles, you can still see the rest of the room, but there's like a holographic, like kind of futuristic looking skeleton in the middle of the room. And you can take layers away, like the muscle or the organs, or just have the bones, which is pretty cool. You can still see everybody else in the room. It's kind of like you're in Iron Man or something like that. It's more of a visual way of learning.
The Faculty of Health at Southern Cross University has partnered with GigXR and mixed reality to bring learning to life. You do actually take a step back when you first put the goggles on, because there's a person in the room with you. And you have to work as a team to help that person that's sitting in front of you.
It was actually pretty cool because we always see all the organs and viscera flattened on a book, and with the goggles we are able to to see them in 3D and understand a little bit more how they work. So we are able to touch them and take some piece of the heart off and see inside, so the valves and all this stuff, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
The teacher in the class will be able to take you through the structure selected, for example the heart, and remove different layers of the heart in front of you. And you also can use your X-ray vision through these goggles to give it a good scan and have a look at the healthy state, what we call physiology, and the disease state, what we call pathology.
It's really cool to actually see how it works because I'm a really visual learner, so the holographic skeleton and anatomy really helped a lot.
It's an interactive way of learning that caters for the new generation, and also with the latest technology, the GigXR headsets we usually use in daily life to play video games. So what we call a mixed reality is pasting your real reality, the room, and the hologram all in front of you through a very amazing pair of goggles. The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive, and students love it because they are visual learners, they love their engagement, they love the social aspect and the community feel when they're in the classroom. They feel like it builds their confidence and it helps them to understand things better in a real clinical setting.
So in addition to the mixed reality, we also have patient simulations where we do have mannequins that take on a realistic persona and case, and again students have to work to look at the signs and symptoms of what's happening with that mannequin and devise management and care of that patient's strategy. It's realistic and a great way of our students then practicing their clinical skills before they then enter the real world.
Plenty of wild stories from my time diving around the world. Just wonderful big encounters with large megafauna, cetaceans, and then also just experiencing the vibrant coral reefs all around the world as well. My name's Todd Thimios. I'm an international dive guide, author and photographer. And also I'm a marine science graduate from Southern Cross University. I grew up in North Queensland in Cairns. Sort of spent my whole youth diving on the Great Barrier Reef with my family. Worked in Lord Howe Island on all my 20s as a dive instructor there, and then fast forward I became a private dive guide on super yachts in all my 30s and early 40s. I started studying at a later age. I was lucky that I had a patch in time where I sort of had a bit of more freedom and more time on my hands, and I thought adding a good base of marine science to what I already had as the long practical knowledge of diving would really be helpful for the future if I ever was to change careers. I was actually working freelance all over the world. And the beauty of the marine science degree that I did, the majority of it was online. So it gave me the chance to work at my own pace in different locations all over the place. But then I was also able to time that into doing practical residentials back in Australia, which was really a good excuse for me to come back to Australia and visit family. There was a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility and encouragement for me to kind of do the degree at my own time. And also they had a very good understanding that I was remote a lot of the time, and they did work around my lifestyle, which was fantastic. I just published a book on the best 50 dive experiences around the world, which was a wonderful experience. 2 years in the making. I definitely brought a lot of sort of experience that I learned from my degree of how to dial myself into a project and focus. I actually really enjoyed the sort of the baseline core subjects of sort of your biology, ecology, chemistry, because it really just gave a good natural organic breakdown of how everything worked, which was nice because I could then add it to my sort of personal knowledge of what I've experienced already. It brings a more professional sort of scientific background to it all, which is always nice because I've always concentrated on media and personal relations, looking after guests. I think starting a degree at a later time in my life was good because I knew you have a clearer mind of what you want, and when you set out your goal you have a clearer idea that what it takes to accomplish that goal.
Some of the main rewards that I've seen as a social work student would definitely be my placement experience that I've just finished. So I was in St George, Queensland for 4.5 months or 18 weeks, and the learning experiences I had out there were next level. I had such a hands-on immersive learning experience. I got to meet so many new people. I got to meet people from all walks of life as well as make new friends, new social groups. It was just a fantastic experience and I wouldn't change it for anything. Hi, I'm Danielle. I'm a third year Bachelor of Social Work student here at Southern Cross University. So I have lived experience within the mental health, and I just wanted to be able to give back to the community that's helped me so much. Some key skills that I've learnt since studying here is adaptability. I think that's really important, whether it's in your study life or your work life, but it's helped me maintain that balance, as well as flexibility, having the confidence to be able to reach out as well. There's the Learning Hub here, which I've reached out to quite a few times, especially when I first started, and they were really helpful when it came to learning academic writing, assessments, how to structure, as well as a bit of like proofing and editing as well. One of the things that I love about Southern Cross is the flexibility that they offer and the support that they offer. So I'm able to adjust my study load if I need to, and I'm lucky enough that with my employers I'm able to adjust my workload as well. So I'm able to maintain that balance pretty well. Plus there's plenty of supports in place, so if I did need assistance study-wise, there's places that I'd be able to go. Some of the main challenges that I face as a social work student is obviously part of social work is that it's dealing with things that are very confronting. Sometimes it's, you're dealing with people on the worst day of their lives. And so for me, I've had to, I guess, have the, not only strength, but the ability to reach out and realise when the things that I'm studying are affecting me. And being able to, again, reach out and use the resources that are there to help me, support me through that, but also using it as a way to get used to those confronting things that we're learning about, because at the end of the day, that's what I'm going to be seeing every day in my job. So to those wanting to study social work, I would say if you have a passion for it, do it. It is such a rewarding experience. It's not easy, but life is never easy. So I think if you have a passion, go for it. It's worth it every step of the way.
And what a great insight from those video. And look, that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you learnt a thing or two. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and we're more than happy to help. Thank you.
Today's students are tomorrow's front line. Today's visionaries will become tomorrow's leaders. And today's research will discover tomorrow's solutions. For ourselves, for others, and for our world. Southern Cross University. Transforming tomorrow.
Well, I hope you got something out of this session, and if you have any questions at all, you can head to choosingyouruni.com and ask Lumen. Lumen is your AI guide who knows about every university, every pathway, every option that we've talked about throughout this virtual expo, and Lumen is available to talk to you 24/7, so it's ready when you are.